Hello guys, welcome to my channel. 1.7 character kits are finally out, so let's talk about them. We'll start first with Vivian. She is an Ether Anomaly off-field DPS. Very interesting kit, and by the looks of it, she's gonna synergize really well with Yanagi and also potentially bring up Jane back into the meta with Bernice. We'll start first with base stats. Feel free to pause the screen if you want to read them more in detail. I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary with this one. Also, after we go throughout the entire kit, I'll have a quick summary of how she works. We'll begin first with basic attack. Her basic attack, at the 4th attack that is, will allow you to enter ground parasol state. And when you have enough charge points, this is her mechanic, you'll be able to hold it during this 4th attack to enter aerial state. So she has two states between ground state and an aerial state. Also within the grounded state, her basic attack will restore 1 charge point. These charge points are important. Also, if you do a perfect dodge during this attack, you'll get an additional charge point restored. And if you do hold the button during the move, you will enter aerial state. Also, when you switch characters in ground parasol state, while Vivian is in that state, she will automatically perform this basic attack. As for her aerial state attack, you either tap or hold it to perform these consecutive attacks, ending with a bloom attack. This is another important mechanic. As we get forward to the rest of the abilities, you'll see what this is. This move will also consume all charge points, and each consumed point will generate an additional bloom attack, dealing significant either damage and providing 1 layer of enhancement effect. This is another important part of her kit. And also, when switching characters while she's in the aerial state, Vivian will automatically perform this basic attack aerial branch. As for her special skill, if you have enough charge points, you can hold down during this skill activation, that is, to enter the aerial state. As for her X special skill, it will launch a stronger version of this attack, and also it restores 2 charge points. After the skill activation, you will enter the ground parachute state, and if you do hold down this skill during the activation, you will enter aerial state instead. Now let's go over her core passive, because it's gonna make more sense of what she does, how this works. Her core passive, when this bloom attack hits the target that is afflicted by an ether anomaly, electric anomaly, fire anomaly, physical anomaly, or ice anomaly, it will deal an additional instance of anomaly damage based on the original anomaly damage. The percentage varies between the elements. So for example, either anomaly, it's 8%, electric is 20, fire is 10, and so on. The electric anomaly has the highest multiplier, and that's why you're probably gonna hear a lot of people saying how this will synergize really well with something like Yanagi, but also the fire anomaly has 10%, which would also work well with Bernice, and this damage also scales per 10 points of anomaly proficiency respectively, meaning that you can do quite a lot of damage with Vivian by having a lot of anomaly proficiency on her. And also, when any of these above effects trigger, the target will be inflicted with the poison state, taking ether damage every 0.5 seconds. So this is effectively the DOT. Also, this damage can trigger attribute anomaly effects, and the poison state will end when the target is no longer in the attribute anomaly state. So whenever the anomaly expires of the enemy, this will also go away. As for an additional ability, if there is another anomaly character or a character with the same attribute in the team, whenever an ally triggers an attribute anomaly, Vivian will consume 1 stack of enhancement effects. This is where enhancement effect comes into play to perform the bloom attack on the target. Also, corruption damage dealt by the entire team aim and disorder damage inflicted when corruption is triggered are increased by 18%. This is also something that should definitely synergize really well with Yanagi and or / Bernice, very likely. And now let's go over her chain attack in ultimate, but before that, I would like to let you know that you can subscribe to this small channel. It's completely free of charge. Smile. Thank you for your support. And now let's continue with the video. Chain attack, she will also gain 1 point of charge when performing the chain attack. Also, after its activation, she will enter the floating state, which can be cancelled by long pressing the button during activation. I assume the floating state in this case means perhaps the aerial state? I guess. I might be wrong. If I'm incorrect about this, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. As for the ultimate, it will allow her to restore 4 points of charge points, that is. So this is also pretty good, because you do want to have these charge points to consume them within the aerial state to unleash those bloom attacks. And once again, after its activation, it will enter this floating state. But actually now, by the looks of it, now that I think about it, I think the floating state might be a separate thing from an aerial state, but I could be wrong. Like I said, again, feel free to point this out within the comments down below. And lastly, we have her dodge and all that stuff. We'll go over it as well. Feel free to pause the screen if you want to read it in more detail, but she does have a very interesting points within her dodge. She does have an auto dodge, so she can automatically evade when about to be attacked within the ground parasol state, and this can only be triggered once per entry into ground parasol state, so that's pretty cool. However, it does not trigger perfect dodge. Also, your dodge counter will allow you to enter ground parasol state as well after the move, and if you have enough charge points, if you hold it during this move, you also enter aerial state instead. Her quick assist will also allow you to enter the same ground parasol state after the move, or if you have enough charge points, you can hold it to enter aerial state instead. So you have multiple ways like to weave these things, which seems to be pretty cool. Also, her assist follow-up does give you 1 recovery of charge point, and it also allows you to enter aerial state after the move. So this is very interesting stuff. I will also go over Mindscapes before I have an overview of her gameplay. From what I understand, I guess there's also the V engine. We also mentioned that, of course. For her Mindscape, damage from Bloom attack is increased by 15%, and when any ally triggers attribute Anomaly, it causes her to perform a Bloom attack on the target. An additional Bloom attack is performed after a short delay without consumption. This effect has a cooldown of 5 seconds. This seems to be pretty strong. How strong in practice will be, time will tell. Mindscape 2, targets in poison state receive 25 more Anomaly damage. This seems quite potent actually, but we'll have to once again see in practice. Mindscape 4, probably quality of life feature. Feel free to pause it if you want to read it, because I don't want to delve too much in the Mindscapes. And same for M6, just pause it if you want to read it in more detail. Generally, M6 for 5-star characters, S-rank characters in this game is just Unga Bunga, very strong stuff. And before we go over her summary, I guess, let's also talk about the V engine. Her V engine actually seems very powerful and arguably also generic, because her V engine provides Anomaly proficiency 90 points as the advanced stat, base attack 713, but more importantly, you get 40% attribute Anomaly build-up rate for every element by the looks of it. So these 2 parts, especially the 40% Anomaly attribute build-up rate increase, and for every element, this seems very generic, and maybe could be even more generic than Yanagi weapon that is currently being used on multiple Anomaly characters. However, the second part of the V engine is of course not as generic. When the wielder deals ether damage, their Anomaly proficiency is increased by 20 for 5 seconds, stacking up to 6 times. This can trigger once every 0.5 seconds at most, refreshing the duration upon repeated triggers. So the secondary part, it's not achievable for most other Anomaly characters because she's the only Ether Anomaly in the game currently. But I could still see this V engine potentially being quite splashable on some other Anomaly characters if you happen to have this. Because do remember, in Deadly Assault, you can swap V engines between the teams, the characters, so you could get more use out of this V engine potentially. So I don't think this V engine is that bad at all. But now I guess we can talk about the core gameplay flow, I guess. This is heavily subject to change. I also might misunderstood some things. If I did, once again, feel free to correct me within the comments down below. I will also show you the multipliers on the screen while I'm yapping about this stuff. Feel free to check them out. I don't want to focus too much on the multipliers because this stuff is very, very heavily subject to change. So I don't want to like overhype or underhype these numbers because they will very likely change. So for our gameplay flow, it's basically like this. You perform a 4-hit basic attack combo to enter the ground parasol state. From there, you can hold the attack button if you have enough charge points to enter the aerial state. Special/X special skills can also send her directly into the aerial state. Within the aerial state, attacks will consume charge points to unleash bloom attacks which deal ether damage and generate enhance points. When allies use X special skills, Vivian will automatically attack from off-field by consuming enhance points to perform these bloom attacks. So effectively this makes her a strong off-field DPS who can do damage even while she's not on the field. She can hold up to 4 enhance points. As for charge point management, I guess, you do need to have these charge points for her aerial state combos. You can gain charge points by using ground branch attacks, dodging perfectly, X special skill which does restore 2 charge points, chain attack will restore 1 charge point, and ultimate restores 4 charge points. Because do remember, her charge points effectively fuel her bloom attacks, and managing these charge points is definitely gonna be core part of her gameplay. Also, her bloom attacks deal extra damage to enemies inflicted with an attribute anomaly, and if these bloom attacks trigger anomaly effects, Vivian will also inflict this poison state, which is effectively an ether dot that deals damage every 0.5 seconds and can further trigger this anomaly effects. This is the reason why she's gonna synergize really well with other anomaly based type of characters such as Yanagi, Bernice, and so on. You might also have the question, how well will this work with Miyabi? I'm not so certain, that's why I'm not mentioning it much, but I'm not so sure whether Miyabi will truly need or want Vivian as much as something like Yanagi will appreciate her more, I think. But of course I could be wrong. Perhaps Miyabi, Yanagi, and Vivian team is gonna be super powerful and something you're gonna play instead of having that Astra in the team. Also, Vivian does provide a 18% corruption damage increase for an entire team, and also disorder damage 18% increase from corruption. I guess I could also mention again her defensive dodge capabilities, because she does have the auto dodge. That seems very interesting. Do remember that she can only do this auto dodge once within the ground parasol state. So then you have to go back to aerial state and then back to ground parasol state to get that auto dodge once again. And also do remember that things like dodge counter will let her enter ground parasol or even aerial state instantly. Same with assist follow up. She will be able to enter aerial state right away and also restore charge points. So overall with Vivian, she's basically an off-field DPS that's gonna synergize really well with all kinds of anomaly type of characters. Will Grace get a glow up moment like Soldier 11 did with Lighter? Who knows? I mean, it's a possibility. I do have M5 with signature Grace That's how unlucky I'm with Grace. So hey, maybe this will improve our Grace for those who are still playing her here and there, I guess. But time will tell, of course. Overall, I think she's a very interesting, exciting character. Some of her animations, if you ask me, are a bit sussy, especially with the rocket thrusters under her skirt. But I think she's a very interesting character. Her playstyle seems very fun, and if you're an Anomaly enjoyer and already have several anomalies on your account, it's definitely something that will improve and enhance your account. Also, she's Ether coverage, and not everybody necessarily has Zuyu1 as an Ether DPS, so having more Ether coverage in your account is also not a bad thing at all. So yeah, I guess this is it for this video. Once again, if you have anything to add yourself or you have any questions, feel free to write it within the comments down below. And of course, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a like and all that stuff. Smile. I also do stream every single day on Twitch/YouTube. If you like to yap with me, feel free to drop by. So yeah, that's about it. I wish you a wonderful day. See you in the next video. Ciao.